way now towards St. Martin and St. Bartholomew with just, unimaginable winds, Stephanie. I can't even imagine what it was. 150 miles an hour, much less 185, 186 miles an hour.
What they went through on Barbuda last night, I mean, I can't even, especially the southern end of the island that was in that eye wall the entire
It went
time.
right over the island. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, but you had the eye on the top, and the bottom. It was just getting raked by that eye wall you got no break at all on the southern portion of that island. Let's talk about Irma's history here and go back to September 4th when it was just a Category 3 at 100. Doesn't it, I mean, everything's perspective. It's like, oh, just 115 miles an hour because we're talking about 180, 85 mile an hour winds right now. And look at that. It just exploded here. Cat 4 as we made our way into the evening hours. Notice the pressure dropping. 943 millibars. And then look at this, down to 926 millibars at 2 p.m. yesterday. You see these bands coming out. That is an indication of intensification. When these get really big, they kind of hit the top of the atmosphere, and you get these bands that can form on the top of it. So first Category 5 hurricane since Matthew, October 2016, and was a Category 5 strength for approximately 12 hours. And this one has lasted a very long time. And those winds, we are getting into record territory when we're talking about these winds here. Jen, I mean, we are tied for second. And Labor Day, one of only 3 known Category 5s to make landfall.
Only one stronger, that's Allen with 190. And there's still the chance for strengthening with Irma. Now, Florida's first mandatory evacuation for Irma begins at sunrise. That's when tourists are supposed to start leaving the Florida Keys. New this morning, preparations for the monster hurricane should hit full stride today.
It's not panic mode yet, but it's definitely being precautious about the situation.
Boarding up in the Caribbean. Filling sandbags in South Florida. Water, now a precious commodity. Long waits to gas up the car.
What just happened in Texas, we have to prepare. Our neighborhoods are really prone to flooding, so we're just trying to make sure that we are prepared enough to not have that happen to us.
People across the Florida Keys pulling their boats from the water. Tourists streaming out of the Keys ahead of a mandatory evacuation order.
I can't get home on 1 tank of gas towing a truck, so obviously gas is a concern, so just the quicker we get out of here, the better.
With several days to prepare, veterans of Donna, which hit the Keys with 130 mile-an-hour winds in 1960, say they'll be ready.
Hurricane Donna, it was up 3 feet here. And that was when I was 12, and I remember taking all the furniture out and hosing it off.
The governors of Florida and Puerto Rico nailing down pre-landfall emergency declarations from the White House.
There's absolutely no reason for anyone not to evacuate if you are ordered to do so.
Our recommendation at this point is simple: be safe.
Puerto Rico is staging disaster operations inside a large arena. Non-perishable foods stacked high. The island's beaches and gentle waves showing no sign of the fury to come.
We'll see what happens at the storm. Hope for the best, that nothing happens.
Well, that scene is going to change dramatically in just a few hours. The director of Puerto Rico's power company predicts Irma could leave some areas without power for 4 to 6 months. And Jim, that's because the island's electrical infrastructure is old and in poor shape.
Yeah, this is not, I mean, I can't even imagine what's going on. It happened in Barbuda last night. Guys, the heroes of the storm right now, the hurricane hunters. They've pretty much done yeoman's work going out. Stephanie showed you the tremendous pressure drop. As long as the pressure keeps going down, we have a chance to increase the winds. So that 190 that Allen had is definitely reachable in through here. That's them flying out through this thing yesterday. Now, they usually are in St. Croix to deal with these systems in the Caribbean. But because St. Croix is actually threatened somewhat by the hurricane, they're flying out of Homestead this morning. All right, so there's that flight. They're making their way again over the Turks and Caicos now, and we'll get some interesting data, I'm sure, a little bit later on this morning as they make their way in. Now, they're typically, the C-130Js are based at Keesler Air Force Base. They can pre-position them given the, where the hurricane is, especially if it's in the Caribbean, as we just talked about. But flight level, 1,000 to 10,000 feet is what they're going to do. They're going to start high. They're going to go down. Typically, 1,500 feet is about as low as we want to go with this, especially with this storm. But just tremendous data coming out of these. Really hands-on, right up to the minute data, Stephanie, when these things go into the eye.
Coming up next here on Irma, we are tracking the storm in real time to bring you the very latest. And of course, Hurricane Irma is dominating social media, Jen.
Now is the time to prepare for Hurricane Irma. The lines are long, supplies are short, even in Tampa. This is what the Sam's Club looked like yesterday morning at 10 a.m. This Twitter user also says that water was already sold out. And the scene doesn't vary much in Naples. Leslie snapped this photo of the line at the Home Depot. People are waiting for plywood. Sandbags are sold out, but they are hoping for more on supply trucks today. And the governor actually has made it easier, lifting some restrictions so that trucks can get those supplies into Florida today.
Let's dance, Grandma.
You don't let anything